This wasn't just a bad game, this was a nightmare. Falcons fans, what we just witnessed might go down as one of the most embarrassing performances in franchise history. No fight. No urgency. No pride. And the worst part? It looked like this team never even showed up to play. Coming off a huge win against Minnesota, this should have been the kind of game where Atlanta built momentum, where they proved they belonged in the NFC conversation. Instead, it felt like they walked into Carolina thinking it was already won. The Panthers were 0-2, battered, desperate. And the Falcons? They looked arrogant, unprepared, and flat. Not a single unit showed up. The offense was lifeless. The defense had no edge. Special teams were sloppy from start to finish. Even the little things, punting, kick returns, field goal execution, were a disaster. And when every single piece of your team looks broken, that points to one thing: coaching. Raheem Morris has to wear this one. The game plan was weak, the energy was non-existent, and the players were clearly not ready. That's not bad luck, that's preparation. And preparation starts at the top. It's easy to say the players didn't execute, but when nobody executes, when every phase of the game collapses, that means the entire team walked in with the wrong mindset. And I'll tell you what it looked like: a team that took practice too lightly, a team that looked at Carolina's record and thought they could coast to a win. But the NFL doesn't work like that. Every Sunday is a fight. Every Sunday is a chance for the other guy to punch you in the mouth. And that's exactly what happened. This wasn't just a loss, it was a humiliation. A wake-up call. A reminder that if you don't show up with intensity, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You will get embarrassed. And that's exactly what happened to the Falcons. If the defense was supposed to set the tone, then Sunday was a massive letdown. The Falcons looked soft, unprepared, and flat-out bullied at the line of scrimmage. Carolina didn't even need to get creative. They didn't beat Atlanta through the air, they didn't trick them with flashy play calls, they lined up, ran the ball straight at them, and the Falcons couldn't stop it. That's as simple and as humiliating as it gets. Missing A.J. Terrell hurt, no question about it. But this loss wasn't about one missing corner. It was about an entire front seven that played without urgency. The Panthers' offensive line, which hasn't looked dominant all year, controlled the trenches like it was nothing. The Falcons' defense looked like they underestimated Carolina, and when you do that in the NFL, you pay for it. If I had to grade it, this wasn't an F, but it sure wasn't passing. Maybe a C- at best. They weren't completely dreadful, but they couldn't stop the run, couldn't adjust, and gave up easy points at the worst moments. And in the NFL, if you can't shut down the run, you don't win. Simple as that. And then there's special teams, and honestly, this might have been the ugliest part of the entire day. Parker Romo missed kicks that could have at least kept the game respectable. I'm not saying those field goals would have saved the Falcons, but when the score is already bad, every miss just makes it feel worse. Bradley Pinion wasn't sharp punting the ball, and kickoff returns were lifeless most of the time. The Falcons couldn't even get past the 20-yard line. The crazy part? Atlanta actually forced a turnover on special teams, and it still didn't matter. That right there shows the problem: no unit came prepared, no unit played clean, and even when an opportunity was gift-wrapped, they couldn't turn it into momentum. That's not just bad luck, that's a lack of preparation. This wasn't one unit failing, it was every unit reflecting the same bigger issue. Raheem Morris did not have this team ready to play. If the defense left fans frustrated, the offense left them speechless. From the opening drive, nothing looked sharp, nothing looked prepared, and nothing looked coordinated. Special teams gave no spark, no dangerous returns, no field-flipping plays, just lifeless execution. And that, at its core, is a reflection of preparation. It's a reflection of coaching. Now let's talk about the offense, the supposed engine of this team. I've been patient with Zach Robinson, believing his system would eventually click, but patience is running thin. Sometimes scheme can elevate a struggling player. A clever design can give a quarterback an easy read, a receiver open space, or a running back a crease. But this offense doesn't feel like it's schemed to win games. It feels like it's built on hope that individual players like Michael Penix Jr., Drake London, or Darnell Mooney will make magic on their own. And when those stars don't shine, everything collapses. That's exactly what we saw. Penix had the worst outing of his young career, 2 interceptions, shaky timing, and constantly forced into tight windows. But here's the truth, it wasn't all on him. His receivers dropped passes. Mooney disappeared. London struggled to separate. Even Kyle Pitts, once considered a generational mismatch, was barely a factor. The running game? Non-existent. The passing game? Scattered and predictable. This wasn't just bad execution. It was bad design. A game plan that asked too much from its players and gave them too little support. Meanwhile, look across the field, Bryce Young wasn't great, but he wasn't asked to carry the world on his shoulders. His coaches schemed him easier opportunities. Penix was thrown into the fire with no water to put it out. What makes this worse is the energy, or rather, the lack of it. The Falcons looked flat, like they weren't ready to fight. Like they were already looking ahead to Washington. That's not just on the players. That's on Raheem Morris. That's on Zach Robinson. That's on every coach in that building. Because when a team looks unprepared, it's not an accident, it's leadership failing to get them ready. This wasn't just a bad loss. This was the kind of loss that shakes confidence, rattles the locker room, and forces fans to ask the hardest question of all: where is this team even headed? The Falcons didn't just lose, they were beaten down in every phase of the game. Outcoached. Outplayed. Outprepared. And the scary part? If things don't turn around quickly, this season could spiral before October even begins. Look at the schedule. If Atlanta doesn't clean things up immediately, we're staring down a potential 1-4 record going into the bye. And who waits after that? The Buffalo Bills. Imagine walking into that matchup 1-5, that's not just a tough hole to climb out of, that's a grave being dug in real time. And yes, there's an opportunity against Washington next week. Maybe Jaden Daniels plays, maybe he doesn't, but that can't be the focus. The focus has to be on the Falcons themselves. Because right now, this isn't a team that looks ready to win against anybody. Not until they rediscover toughness, discipline, and identity. Fans feel it. That weight in the pit of your stomach. That sick frustration that makes you turn off the TV early, or sit there in silence wondering what you just watched. Today wasn't one of those games you can sugarcoat with "we'll be fine" speeches. Today looked exactly as bad as it felt. The effort wasn't there. The coaching wasn't there. The spark wasn't there. This is a crossroads moment. Either Raheem Morris and his staff light a fire under this team, or this season slips away before it ever really begins. The Falcons are standing on the edge, and the next game might decide whether they fall or fight.